used to walk regularly every morning, and then one day I strained my knee, which had been damaged years before. I was in pain for many weeks. In fact, it took months to get back to normal. And as a result of that, I never got back to my routine of walking. Well, at the end of 2020, I decided that I was going to start walking again, so a few days before Christmas, I did. I wouldn't call it a New Year's resolution, but the effect is the same. Did you make some New Year's resolutions? I want to ask you, have you put the resolution into practice? After doing it a few days, have you already started to make excuses for not doing it? Are you already saying, tomorrow I'll get started, but tomorrow gets farther and farther away? Do you find yourself already procrastinating in this area? You may tell yourself, well, I'll start tomorrow, but the world is filled with people who put off things like that. Are you going to let that be your story this year as well? Are you going to take your place among the world-class procrastinators who never do what they promise? So let me ask you again. If you haven't done anything yet to prove that you're really serious about your New Year's resolutions, what are you going to do now to get back on track with your original commitment? Hebrews chapter 12, verses 11 and 12 says, Now no chastening to the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. Wherefore lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees. Although this passage is actually talking about the chastening of the Lord and the fact that remains that the principle is applicable to any form of discipline. The word chastening is, in verse 11 actually, is a Greek word paideia, which is taken from the Greek word pious, the word for a child. However, when it becomes the word paideia, it refers to a childbearing or child discipline, or the process of transforming an undisciplined child into a disciplined child. Eventually, it became a word that referred to all forms of discipline. Therefore, it could refer to the budgetary discipline, mental discipline, spiritual discipline, physical discipline, such as exercise. Therefore, the verse actually can be translated, Now no discipline for the present seemeth joyful. Notice this verse says no discipline for the present seems joyful. The word present in the Greek is the word paran, which literally means at this very moment. This can be applied to any area of the flesh where discipline is needed. For instance, the flesh despises and resists financial discipline because it has to say no to things it wants to purchase. The flesh hates dietary discipline because it has to push away the plate when it wants to overeat. The flesh loathes the physical discipline of exercise because it doesn't want to be subjected to the hardness of such rigorous activity. It abhors the inconvenience of getting out of bed early and walking down the hallway to the exercise equipment, feeling forced to do something physical. The flesh doesn't want anything forcing discipline on it. It's like a child who must be taught to obey. And so as you begin to do what you pledged to do as a part of your New Year's resolutions, know in advance that when it's time to start, your flesh probably will rant and rave and scream and resist and recall everything you could be doing at that moment to your mind, to your memory, instead of exercising. It'll try to escape by reminding you of the other things that you need to do, people you need to call, other places you need to be, things you need to fix, and so on. The pain of discipline isn't attractive to the flesh, and so it may look for a way out of that momentary discomfort. And that's exactly what Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11 goes on to say. No chastening for the present seemed joyous. The word seemeth is the Greek word dokeo, and in this verse it could be translated as feels. And the word joyful is the word shara, and it means joyful or pleasant or joyful in this context. And so the verse could be translated, no discipline feels pleasant or enjoyable at the moment that it's happening. This verse goes on to say that far from enjoyable, discipline at first feels grievous. In the word grievous is lupe, which depicts something painful or sorrowful, or something that is filled with anguish or torment or agony. What a description of what I feel every time I walk around the track. My flesh resists every time. And at times forcing myself to get out of bed early in the morning to walk before daylight so as to escape the heat of the day is really unpleasant. I want to sleep a little bit longer. However, if I want to get in shape, if I have to speak to my flesh and tell it to obey, whether it wants to or not. It may be painful to get through the process of achieving that goal or that vision, but the fruit of experiencing your desired outcome is worth it. And that's why the remainder of the verse says, "Nevertheless, afterwards it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby." The fruit of discipline and exercise is available to anyone who's willing to pay the price to obtain it. And if you and I are willing to endure the momentary pain and anguish and agony and inconvenience of keeping our New Year's resolutions, it'll pay off big time in the end. Now, this can be applied to every part of your life, whether it be a New Year's resolution or your prayer life or your devotional life, your regular reading of the Bible, your regular attendance to church, your study of Sunday school lesson, or any other spiritual discipline that you need to exercise. Hebrews 12:11 can be interpreted, "No discipline feels pleasant or enjoyable at the time it's happening, but later on it produces long-awaited righteous fruit in the living of those who are willing to undergo the discipline required to attain it." So determine beforehand that you're going to steadfastly subdue and conquer that fleshly pull to give up on your commitment. You have to let the flesh know that it is your servant. You're the boss. There's a price to pay for any success. You have to decide how far you're willing to go to finish your race strong. Well, it's been good being with you once again to visit during this time. And I trust that if you are in Cayman-Brac, that you'll remember to come to either Watering Place or Spot Bay Churches of God Holiness. Now that is if you don't go to church anywhere else regularly. We don't want to pull you away from another congregation. But if you have no church home, we would love to have you come to worship with us, and I can assure you that you will benefit from the time of worship, the fellowship, and the study of God's Word. God bless you. Have a wonderful week. And remember, discipline that body, discipline that mind, discipline that spirit, so that you can keep in shape spiritually, physically, mentally, emotionally, every way. God bless you richly.